My father and his wife of 7 years have decided they want a wedding where people actually show up this time. The background is that they got married when my sister and I were both teens. We didn't attend the wedding, and neither did any of our father's side of the family, his parents, siblings, nieces and nephews, cousins, etc. There was a lot of backlash over this because all of them, who were born then obviously, attended his and my mom's wedding. The reason my sister and I refused to attend and basically ran away the morning of to a family member's house is because my father was marrying someone who tossed letters my mom wrote to my sister and me for our milestones. She died a little over a year before our father moved his second wife in. They were engaged at that point, so those letters meant everything. His wife wanted no traces of Mom, so anything that was hers was gone. Photos, clothes, jewelry, personal items, her phone. It was all tossed, and my father did nothing to stop her. She was remorseful, or appeared to be when the letters came up, but there was no coming back from that. There was no coming back with our father either because he let it happen. He stood there and watched her toss our mom from the house item by item. My sister and I saw our father in a very different light after this, and our anger at him was palpable. I stopped calling him Dad after it. The next 2 years were the most tense of my life, and my sister had 4 years to go. I left at midnight on my 18th birthday and went to a family member's house. I'd packed all my stuff that night and walked, and I haven't been back there since. I have been mostly no contact with my father since then. He reached out to talk to my sister and me once. We met and we talked. We told him we understood he was chasing happiness again and acknowledged that he acknowledged he should have done better. But we told him there was no repairing things. I told him I couldn't look at him the same way ever again and pretend to be happy for him and his wife. My sister told him something close to what I did. Our extended family didn't attend my father's second wedding because they didn't like his wife. They pretty much hated her. But now they're willing to attend because the marriage has lasted a few years now and apparently they're happy. Our refusal to attend the wedding is going down badly. My father tried to reach out and begged us to come and show support and give them the perfect wedding. He said it would only be perfect with his kids there. His wife basically told us we should be willing to accept their flaws, embrace them as our family, and treat them with more kindness than we are. She accused us of behaving maliciously to ruin their wedding. So, am I the idiot for refusing to attend my estranged father's third wedding? Screw that noodle dad and his noodle-loving hag. He couldn't grow a spine so his children could have the last memories of their mother. There are ways to enter a widowed family, and this absolutely ain't it. You are not the idiot. That was so cruel, and I would not be able to forgive that. If someone told me there was a letter from my father to me somewhere, I don't know what I would go through to get it, but a lot. To see it casually tossed as a powerless child. I'm dying inside. I'm so sorry. The family validating this marriage are the jerks, and obviously Dad an evil stepmom. Yeah, she tossed out irreplaceable letters from your mother, and yet you're the one acting maliciously? She sounds like a piece of work. She maliciously threw away all your mother's belongings. Tell her you will come to her wedding when she returns all your mother's stuff. Some bells cannot be unrung. This is one of them. Absolutely, there's no way back. She took your mom, the memory of your mother, and your dad allowed her to erase the woman he claimed he once loved. He let her take the mother of his children. He let her remove what his late wife did for her children, her last wish. No, there is no coming back from there, and you don't have to pretend to make his wife happy. Tell your dad he showed that he cared more about that woman than about his children, and this is unforgivable. So he'll have to live with the consequences, and nothing will ever change for the relationship between him and you. I have 2 kids, Kathy, 29 female, and Michael, 25 male. Kathy lives with me, pays some of the bills, and has no plans to move out anytime soon. We have our own business that we operate out of our home. It's easier for her to live here, and it's great because I have help with the bills, whereas Michael lives about an hour away from work and has his own apartment. For a while I kept Michael's room as is. He shared several times he has no plans of moving back home as his job is in the city he moved to. Kathy has a very close friend who has a toddler daughter, Zoe. Her friend named Kathy, her daughter's godmother and guardian should she pass. Unfortunately, that happened 6 months ago. Kathy's friend was a single mom, so Kathy was granted custody. At first, Zoe was sharing a room with Kathy as she had extreme separation anxiety. However, she's now ready for her own room. As our home is a 3-bedroomed house, we don't have anywhere else to put her. When I told Michael what we were doing, I said I'd get a pull-out for the living room or a daybed for my room when he visits overnight for holidays. I know rooming with your mom isn't fun, but I want to give him options. He's mad that I gave the room to Zoe. He says that was his room. I said I understood, but he didn't live with me. Kathy does, and she pays bills. She's even paying more now because she feels she's using more resources now that Zoe is living with us. I feel different if Kathy and Zoe moved out soon, but they're not. At this point, Kathy plans to adopt Zoe. I want to help her. My mom helped me raise my kids, and her mom helped her. It's in our culture to have a multi-generational household. Moving isn't an option. I can make the space more private for Michael when he spends the night, a divider in the living room, but as he usually only sleeps here 2 or 3 times a year, it just doesn't feel practical. I said we'd make something work if Michael ever needed to move home permanently, and I'd also help him with his child if he was in this situation. He says he doesn't want kids. I said that's fine, but this is the current situation. He feels Kathy should move out. I said I wasn't kicking her out just so he could have a room the few times he spent the night. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your son feels entitled to a place where he doesn't live. He moved out. He lives elsewhere. He pays taxes elsewhere. He pays rent and mortgage elsewhere. He doesn't live there. He doesn't need a room. That being said, if he sleeps there 2 or 3 times a year, can't Zoe spend the night in Kathy's room, or Kathy in Zoe's for those few nights so that Michael can have a little privacy? I mean, he only lives an hour away. He never really has to sleep there. I also think it's odd for someone in their 20s to slum it on their parents' couch for a night or 2 if needed. It's not ideal, but with small homes and rooms, you have to make compromises. He's an adult with his own apartment that isn't overnight trip distance away. You don't need to maintain a shrine to your grown son. Your needs changed, and there's a valid reason to change his old room into a room for Zoe. A while back, I posted a picture of my cat sitting next to my counter as I was cooking to my IG stories on his own stool. He was watching. Again, he was next to my counter, not anywhere near the food. He doesn't go on counters. He doesn't go near the food. My friend Rose reposted it with her own caption, a puke face emoji, and "You can't eat at everybody's house." I ignored it and went about my business. She's very much the type of person who just regurgitates whatever popular phrases she sees on social media. Pineapple on pizza equals monsters. Raisins in cookies are why I have trust issues. I don't trust people who don't like dogs. Hot girl walks. Hot girl books. Delulu. I'm going to hold your hand while I tell you this. Is the ex in the room with us right now, etc., etc. She has other traits that make up for it, but I tend to avoid one-on-one time with her truthfully. About a month ago, I hosted a small get-together to show off some Le Creuset cookware I obtained. Getting older is weird. I had a whole little shindig with home-prepared food and lots of fun times between pals. I didn't invite Rose. She found out after folks posted on their IG stories and confronted me over it, saying that I was giving high school mean girl vibes. I told her that she'd made it clear she didn't eat at the homes of people with cats, so why would I have invited her to a dinner party? She got defensive and said that she could have just come and not eaten anything. I said that in the future she should be more careful about what she says because, to me, it was very clear. Rose has continued to tell people I'm giving high school mean girl to nurse pipeline. I'm an accountant and all that. Am I really the idiot for not inviting her? Why would she have wanted to come? Tell her, I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you this. You're not entitled to my time, cooking, or entry to my house, Rose. Okay? It's giving Delulu vibes. She should understand that. Sorry, Rose, but you're giving main character vibes. Let's just go low contact for a bit. Don't gaslight me. You messed around and found out. You're disrespecting my boundaries, and this is an abusive, toxic relationship. Trying to think of more terminally online verbiage that somewhat fits. Obviously not the idiot because your dinner guest list is your decision. But you're not even friends and she obviously aggravates you. Are you so desperate for social media followers that you won't just block her? You should have done that when she reposted your cat photo with the insulting remark. Move on from her already. You both seem to be interacting like you're in high school. This is such a stupid take. Even if OP doesn't much like Rose, it sounds like Rose is in OP's group of friends. And yes, blocking someone just because they use terminally online language would cause drama. OP, not the idiot. Now I think you have a good reason to stop associating with Rose and blocking them if you want. If not, you're still not the idiot. You aren't obligated to invite someone to your home. I strongly suggest you stop debating this with Rose. If your friends bring it up, just say, I didn't invite her and she blew up. Don't get dragged into the mud here. Especially when people who need to be blocked don't handle being blocked well. Rose can't even handle not being invited to a home that she complained about. Could you imagine a temper tantrum she would have over being blocked? OP, tell her your cat said she wasn't welcome in your house. My 26 female brother James, 27, recently got engaged to his fiancée Laura, 32 female. My brother and I have always been super close. He had many girlfriends throughout the years, and I generally made it a point to get along with them. I liked most of them, so that task wasn't that hard. I had a good and close relationship with most of them while they were still dating James, and I remained in close contact with 2 even after their breakup, with James's permission, of course. One was his high school girlfriend Diane, 26, and the second was his baby's mom, Sophie, 29. When James started dating Laura 2 years ago, I also tried to get close to her, but I just couldn't bring myself to befriend her. Laura and I are completely different people and have little to nothing in common. She isn't a bad person by any means, but she's just not someone I would want to hang out with or talk to on a day-to-day basis. At the end of the day, she made James happy and was a decent stepmom to my nephew Rio, preschooler, so liking her as a person wasn't really important. I also had little to no interactions with her since whenever I visited James at their apartment, she would claim she was too busy to hang out with us, so I would mostly only see her during family reunions and holidays. After they got engaged, Laura asked me to be her bridesmaid. I refused since I already had a part in the wedding as the groom's sister, was happy with my current position, and didn't feel like spending thousands to go on a bachelorette trip where I didn't know anyone. Last month, James's Diane also got engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. I agreed since Diane has been a close friend of mine for years, and I was honored that she wanted me to play such an important role in her wedding. When Laura heard about this, she called me, saying that I was immature for rejecting her request to be a bridesmaid but agreeing to be Diane's maid of honor. I told her that Diane was my childhood friend, so it was different. Laura then began to interrogate me and ask if Diane and James were the ones getting married. Would I also refuse her request and be content with only being the groom's sister in the wedding party? I told her that that situation was irrelevant since it would never happen. Laura continued to bombard me with questions before I finally told her that as her future sister-in-law, my only obligation towards her is to treat her with respect, and I'm already doing that, so I don't understand what more she wants from me. After hearing that, Laura ended the call and blocked my number. Her friends are now harassing me and telling me how awful I am for saying that to Laura. I'm genuinely confused since I don't think I've said anything remotely awful or offensive, but I might be missing something. Am I the idiot? Edit, the thing is she already had 8 people in her bridal party before she asked me. My brother has 9 groomsmen, so my initial guess was that Laura wanted to even out the number of bridesmaids and groomsmen. But even if that was the case, she has other female relatives she could ask to fill in the role. I haven't told my brother what happened just yet since I want to avoid drama. OP, not the idiot. If you feel able, then once things have calmed down, might it be worth chatting with your brother about this? I think you've provided a remarkably clear and fair background. Laura being a good step and making your brother happy, just not your kind of person to be BFF. Laura's friends obviously only have her side of the story. It's perfectly reasonable of you to choose who you want to invest significant amounts of money and time into, and it's not reasonable for Laura to expect it should be her. What I'm wondering is why you didn't point out Laura's own behavior. Why not ask why she always makes herself scarce when you visit if you want to be buddies? Because she's sending some mixed signals. Obviously, you don't have to pursue the matter at all, but coming to some sort of understanding will probably make everyone's life a lot easier. Exactly. Laura has made 0 effort to connect with you, and now she's upset that you don't want to serve her in her wedding. That's ridiculous and tells me she only wanted you there for show. Her friends are now harassing me and telling me how awful I am for saying that to Laura. Pretty immature of her to send her flying monkeys after you. She obviously has enough people to choose as bridesmaids, so this is more about you being close to Diane and refusing to pretend you're close to her. Good luck to your brother. He's in for a bumpy ride. What kind of psycho gets their friends to harass their fiancé's sister? I tell your brother that it's his fiancée who's angry at you, and now her friends are harassing you. You can't have a productive conversation with her without being accused and harassed, so get your brother to solve it because it's just ridiculous how she's acting like she's entitled to your time, your friendship, and your money. Update. I decided to call James just like some of you suggested. I explained the entire situation with Laura and sent him screenshots of the texts her friends kept sending me. He was surprised since Laura never mentioned it and said he'd get back to me. Instead of calling me back, James showed up at my apartment an hour ago. He told me that he'd talked with Laura about the entire situation and he'd finally understood what had made her act that way. When James's friend group held a get-together last month, some of his childhood friends were reminiscing. They mentioned how they always thought James and Diane would get back together eventually, and how odd it was that they're now engaged to different people. Another friend also mentioned how James and Diane were a better fit and tried to prove his point by pointing out how I liked Diane better than Laura. Since I'm basically the female version of my brother, that must count for something. Apparently, while James was completely unaware that this conversation happened, Laura overheard the entire thing. Instead of telling James what she'd overheard, Laura got fixated on what those people had said and tried to use my approval, like some weird competition, to prove she was better than Diane. So when I agreed to be Diane's maid of honor, after I refused to be her bridesmaid, she kind of spiraled and tried to use her friends to pressure me and make me feel bad for not joining her bridal party. Although James understands what led Laura to act this way, he's mad at her since she went about it in the worst possible way, and this situation could have been avoided had she communicated with him like an adult. He told Laura that he needed some time alone to process what had happened, so he'll be sleeping in my apartment tonight and meeting her tomorrow morning.